Hello everyone, Stormy1 here. Today we'll be having a little update on the nor'easter to be impacting parts of the interior northeast over the next day or two. We're also going to be talking about a little bit of severe weather setup that will occur over parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, maybe into parts of southwestern Missouri, and maybe as far south as northern Texas for Wednesday. And then a much bigger severe weather setup could come in a bit further north here over parts of Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, even a parts of Iowa and Missouri by this upcoming weekend as well, as a big trough will come out of the Rockies as well. Before we get started on this video, if you guys would like weather related content, you can subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff here all the time on this channel. Plus, we'll have more updates on some of these topics as well over the next couple days, so stay tuned for more updates as well. So let's get started with the watch warning advisory display, and there is some activity out there. One of the more notable things that we actually do have winter weather alerts in the interior Northeast, winter weather advisories, and winter storm warnings that's up there as well. Freeze watches and warnings, even frost advisories over parts of Kansas to Missouri, and even the portions of Illinois, and of course fire weather problems over parts of the four quarter states as well. And pretty much everywhere else it's staying at least mostly quiet anyway. And we're actually going to first talk about the nor'easter. And we're going to begin by looking into the HER model. So we've seen a decent amount of snow went through parts of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. So snow is actually still continuing in the Ohio Valley. And this is going to continue to move to the northeast. Now it's going to be hard to get snowfall accumulations, especially in the daytime, because number one, the sun angle is much higher. So it's going to be hard to get snowfall accumulations earlier in the day. But when you get in the overnight hours when the sun sets, you really won't have that problem. But you also have strong or warm ground temperatures to contend with as well, which also kind of limits the snowfall totals as well just a little bit. And that's kind of one reason why most of the snow is going to be happening in higher elevations, because those ground temperatures are much colder than it's down closer to sea level. You can see here as we play along with the HER model as we continue on throughout the day into the overnight hours. And really by midnight here, you got 1,000 millibar low in the southeastern part of Maryland. Eventually, that's going to move over portions of the east coast of New Jersey, eventually going inland over parts of Connecticut and Massachusetts. On the backside of this low here, a bit further inland, we have quite a bit of snow going on, especially in the higher elevations. Even some heavy snow can get mixed in as well. Now, for areas in the parts of Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, some people may be able to see some snow early on. Can be heavy at times, but that warm air really does kick in as well. So that eventually, you guys will transition over to rain as well. But some of the areas that will stay mostly snow will be over parts of central Pennsylvania into central New York, and that's where you're expecting some of the highest totals as well, especially in the higher elevations. So this is the HER model. You're going to have to back off some of these snowfall totals, especially back over parts of further to the south here where you got daytime heating problems, where the sun angle is and all that stuff, because that does affect snowfall totals. Now, as you get into parts of New York and Pennsylvania, it really doesn't affect it as much because it be happening in the overnight hours as well. You also know some snowfall totals are possible over parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, western Massachusetts, even the portions of Maine as well. He also knows here the snowfall amounts here are likely going to be way too high. It's got snowfall amounts up to 2 feet. Highly doubt we're going to see 2 feet of snow, but I think a max could be a little bit over a foot of snow in some places, which this is the National Weather Service forecast. You can see here not as much as what the HER model suggests, but this is a much more accurate picture here. So then again, higher elevations, 8 to 12 inches of snow. Lower elevations, maybe a general 2 to 5 inches, especially over parts of New York and Pennsylvania as well. So if you do live in these areas here, be prepared for a pretty good snowfall event over the next several hours as well. And that can linger into tomorrow morning as well. So pretty decent snowfall event for the Northeast. And I'm sure some of you guys are ready for warmer weather, like a lot of us are at this point as well. Tired of snow. Before we kind of get to the severe weather side of things, at least for a forecast standpoint, let's review what happened yesterday. Yesterday we had a pretty decent severe weather event, especially over parts of Mississippi, Southern Alabama, in the Florida Panhandle. Had a pretty good cluster of thunderstorms that rolled through some of these areas in here. They produced some damaging winds and also some large hail as well, which some of it was significant. There were two different areas where we had pretty good severe weather. Then again, one of those was over parts of Mississippi, Southern Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. And there was another little area over south central Texas as well. That's where we've seen most of the significant hail as well. But for the most part, yesterday, generally a wind and hail event. Only two tornado reports so far. Um, that number could increase over the next couple days as some damage surveys do continue as well. So overall, pretty decent severe weather event for areas across parts of the South as well. And at least we won't be seeing much of that for a decent amount of time. Which this is the severe weather outlook for today. Couple margin risks. You got one for the east coast of North Carolina, and there was another one for the southeastern part of Florida. Very low tornado risk for the east coast of North Carolina. Damage winds would be the main threat, but hail will be possible in the southeastern part of Florida as well. Today is not looking to be a big day. Day two, which is tomorrow. Hey, marginal risk over parts of the panhandle of Texas and far eastern New Mexico. These areas actually could use some rain as well. So this is some good news here for areas in the parts of the Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma, far eastern Colorado, and western Kansas. These areas could really use some rain. No tornado threat, no wind threat, but hail is looking to be the main threat over those areas as well. Then on day three, which is Wednesday, we got a couple margin risks. We got one for southeastern Kansas, southwestern Missouri, most of Oklahoma into far northern Texas as well. There is a possibility that can get upgraded to a slight risk if trends do continue. Some models are showing a pretty good severe weather setup over, especially over eastern Oklahoma and even in portions of western Arkansas as well. So if trends do continue, this outlook may look quite a bit different tomorrow. And there's also another march risk for the west coast of Oregon. So if you don't see very often, we have a margin risk over western Oregon. Day four, potential too low, but then you get into day five, which is Friday. There's a 15% slack risk for southeastern South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, western Iowa, eastern Nebraska, back into central Kansas as well. And day six, seven, and eight, predictably too low, but we might see a couple more slack risks get issued wherever we could get into a better agreement as well. Let's get started with Wednesday's setup here. And if we kind of back this up here to about 18Z Wednesday here, so in the middle of the afternoon, when it comes to Super composite number wise, so pretty decent numbers out there already in the middle of the afternoon. Numbers generally a 3 to a 5, so pretty decent numbers, but a lot of this will be capped a bit earlier in the day. But as we kind of get into the evening hours, some of those numbers do rise, and at the same time, if we get a sounding in the southeastern part of Oklahoma, then the cap does begin to ease. You can see here with the sounding here, this is a pretty decent sounding overall. You got a nice curve to the hodograph, wind direction of high here between the surface and 850 millibars. So that could lead to some rotating updrafts as well. Pretty good story to felicity values, plenty of instability. Uh, Also, lap rates are good as well. So conditions can be favorable for all hazards in the sounding here. Now there is then again that little cap there in mid levels, and there's also that little inversion at the same time as well, which can help limit the severe weather potential. But this is a cap that's breaking at a pretty good time as well. So severe weather could start maybe as early as the evening hours for some of these areas as well. And you can see here there's some better numbers as you kind of get into parts of northeastern Oklahoma as well. And if we get the sound of here, check out what it looks like real quick. You can see there's actually no cap in place with this sounding as well. So if models trend towards the NAMA, which is a little bit aggressive with this setup here, we have the potential to see all hazards, damage wind, large hail, some of them could be very large, and also tornadoes as well. And I think that strong tornado will stay on the lower end, but that potential cannot be ruled out as well. And that's a big um, because some of the models are not as aggressive as the NAM here. The GFS is not as aggressive here, which if we do check out the GFS at about the same time, you can see your superset composite numbers are not as high. It's generally a 2 or a 4, which if we do get sounding out there real quick, you can see here what I'm talking about here. And plus, it still has a pretty good cap in place. And really, models have been having a little bit of trouble with the cap here because the thing over the last couple of days is it seems like that some of the models have its cap here breaking a bit too late. So it seems like it for a lot of these past few capping events, the cap breaks a little bit earlier than expected. So could it happen with this up here? That is certainly a possibility, but it's definitely something to really watch for in the next couple of days because this could turn out to be another good severe weather event for eastern Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas, southwestern Missouri, and even into western Arkansas as well. And then again, all hazards will be possible, especially if models trend towards the NAM model, and also cannot rule out that potential for a low-end strong tornado risk as well. So that's Wednesday out of the way. This is a look into the GFS model here. And really, after Wednesday here, it's not too bad for Thursday here. Not really expecting severe weather at all for Thursday. But then you kind of get into Friday here. You notice here, there's a big system that comes out of the Rockies. You got 981 millbar low coming out of the Rockies in northeastern Colorado. And that's really going to strengthen a little bit more. Kind of similar situation to what we saw last week. But this time here, instead of really ramping up and gaining strength, it kind of weakens a little bit. So with a weakening low here, really by each day here, wind shear values really kind of back off a little bit, kind of by each day here. Even Saturday itself here, even though with a weaker low pressure system, it could still lead to a pretty decent severe weather setup over parts of the Central Plains, even into the upper Midwest as well. And I believe that 50% was for Friday here over parts of some of these areas right here as well. It also could be very windy as well. You got very close isobars at the surface as well. But then again, there's also that possibility that a lot of this could be capped as well. So that's another thing to watch for as well as if this is going to be another big cap setup or anything like that as well. But it's definitely something to really monitor over the next couple of days because this could sort of turn out to be another significant event for portions of the Central Plains, even in the upper Midwest as well. Now, what's different about this up here, of course, the low will get weaker, but really the cold front's not as impressive here, and also the trough itself is not as impressive as well compared to the last event. You can see here on Sunday here, the low really begins to weaken over parts of North Dakota and Minnesota. And really, the system itself just doesn't look as impressive as the previous 2 days of Friday and Saturday. Now, there could still be that possibility for maybe some strong storms along that cold front, but I think the potential there is kind of on the lower end as well. But we'll still have to watch for that as well. What's also interesting that the GFS wants to try to develop another low along the front, which can help enhance the severe weather potential. But if we look into the European model for a different view, which the European model did a pretty good job on the last event. That's something I should note as well. And you can see here from the European model, it is similar to the GFS, but it kind of holds that strength there for a little bit longer as well. So kind of going back to Friday, which in the overnight hours Friday night into Saturday morning, it actually does show some thunderstorms blowing up along that dry line as well, or cold front. It's going to be either one of those there. So there could still be some severe weather potential even in the morning hours on Saturday. And then you kind of get into Saturday night or evening. Now you start to see some scattered thunderstorms across the upper Midwest, and that could lead to some severe weather issues as well. And similar to the GFS model here, as you get into Sunday, I should say, the system itself doesn't look as impressive here. It's weaker and also moves up into portions of Canada as well, which helps back off the wind shear values along the cold front as well. Now, at the same time here, we are going to have a southeast ridge here. So kind of between the cold front and the ridge here, there will be a little bit of a tight pressure gradient, just a little bit. That may actually help increase the wind speeds in the upper levels as well. So that's another thing to watch for as well. Plus, this ridge here is going to bring in some nicer weather for the eastern U.S. for once. For the way it's been over the past couple weeks, especially in the portions of the Tennessee Valley and the Ohio Valley, every time that we get a big warm up, something else always comes with it. Well, this time here, we might actually get a couple of warm and dry days, which is really nice. So that's a good thing about the Southeast Ridge, is that it's going to at least keep a good chunk of the eastern U.S. warm and dry, like a lot of us would want as well for this time of year. Now the European model doesn't really show that low developing along that front, but we still need to keep an eye on those trends as well, because if a low does develop along this frontier, that can enhance the severe weather potential as well. So that's another thing to monitor as well. So let's check out the GFS ensembles. This is the upper levels, 500 millibars, and you can see here a pretty good trough across the western U.S. That's going to bring some rain and snow for a lot of people in the western U.S. And then you kind of get to peak time heating on Saturday here. There may be a possibility for a negative tilt trough to be in place at this point as well. And that's really going to enhance the severe weather potential for the upper Midwest and the Central Plains as well. But really after Saturday, the trough really begins to flatten out, and it just doesn't look as impressive here. But the severe weather potential could still be there, but it's much lower than the previous couple of days as well. And then it's unclear if severe weather threat will continue after Sunday as well. But let's check out the mean superset composite here. And this is for really for Friday's setup, and there's some pretty good values out here from the Mexican border all the way up into South Dakota. So this could be another classic Tornado Alley severe weather setup. But it all kind of depends on of how strong that cap is going to be, because if it's going to be on the stronger side, severe weather may not happen for some of these areas. But if it's weaker, you might see a pretty good severe weather outbreak with this. So that is something to monitor pretty closely. And then you move on to Saturday. Doesn't look as impressive here for the GFS ensembles here. So there is still some disagreements here. And that's why we do not have an area highlighted for Saturday just yet, because there is still some uncertainty with it as well. Which, if you look into the instability here from each model, you can see from a lot of these here, or probably nearly half of these, there's not a whole lot of instability in place. So there's some uncertainty with the instability, but it would not surprise me if some of the instability values do uptrend for Saturday as well. I think Saturday overall still looks to be a pretty decent severe weather setup, which also does show some pretty good numbers, or some decent numbers, just to say, over parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, down to Texas. But there's a possibility that might be capped. And here, Sunday here, maybe a lower end risk for some strong storms or severe storms for parts of the Midwest back into the Southern Plains as well. And really after Sunday, there's a lot of uncertainty there as well. So really, overall, if there's an area I would definitely keep an eye on for severe weather later this week, it will definitely be the Central Plains and the Upper Midwest. Plenty of wind shear to work with, and decent amount of instability to work with as well. We'll certainly have a better idea as we get closer here, but the potential is there that we could see a pretty good severe weather event over some of these areas as well later this week. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button. If you do like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you've got some questions about this, put a comment section down below. Alright, guys, questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.